morning, good evening, good afternoon. Whenever you are listening to this, thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited to have you here today. Welcome to today's episode of Kick It With Me. My name is Meg and I am a personal trainer, and this vlog is about lifestyle as well as some fitness tips and tricks that have helped me along my fitness journey. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about scale-free victories. Starting off, we're going to get nice and comfy cozy. All right, so I had my daughter about 3 years ago, and a little bit over 3 years. I breastfed her for almost 3 years. I think she was shy of 2 months before she turned 3 when we stopped breastfeeding. And I also started my fitness routine right after having her, so when it was safe to do so. So I had a C-section with both of my kids, so I waited the appropriate time before I was able to commit to an exercise program. And then, I did pretty much the same stuff that I did with my son. With my son, I was able to achieve my pre-pregnancy weight within about a year and a half to 2 years. I got back to my pre-pregnancy clothes 6 months to a year. Now, not really focusing too much on the weight because the weight will fluctuate, as many people know. Weight fluctuates, a nice rhyme there. All right, so yeah, your weight will fluctuate, and that's because of so many different factors. I mean, when you're starting a new fitness routine, you'll actually sometimes gain weight or just stay the same because you gain muscle, and that's a good thing, right? So sometimes weight, like the scale, it's not always the most accurate. After I had my son, I only used the scale and how I was feeling. I always kind of went with how I was feeling, my clothes, all that. I felt back to normal around 6 months to a year. With my daughter, that was a different story. So I did all of the same things. I exercised, created an exercise plan. I took the kids running with me. We went hiking. If not, maybe I did more exercise with my daughter. However, it was extremely hard for me to lose body fat percentage. And that's what I focused on with my daughter, as I had a body fat analysis scale when I had my daughter. And I paid a little bit more attention to it then because obviously I had one in my home. So I noticed that with my son, I started taking my body fat around like a year after. That's when I had access to a scale. And I mean, a year and a half after, I was back to regular body fat. I was like, you know what, this will probably be pretty similar because I also have another child that I'm looking after. So I'm going to be on my feet even more than I already was. Well, that wasn't the case. I mean, being on my feet a lot more than I was the case because, oh my gosh, I don't think I ever sat down. As a new mom, you don't sit down. You're always like kind of moving and here and there, and oh, you want a snack? Okay, you want this? All right, here we go. Goes to sit down. Oh, I gotta go clean that. Like it's just always moving. And then for your own mental health, like personally for me, we went out to the parks. We would do park workouts, like anything that I could get my workout in while they were still entertained was like just amazing for me. And I talked about in the video prior to this about how, exercising with little kids, just spending 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and adding them all up ends up being 20 to 30 minutes. Anyways, so I had a very hard time losing body fat percentage, and it's not because I'm not knowledgeable in the area of how to lose body fat. It's not because of lack of trying, because if you are in a situation where you have done everything right, so you are watching what you're eating, you're making sure that you are exercising properly, you're getting the right amount of water intake, getting enough sleep, all of those things. If you're doing everything right and you still can't lose the weight, it's frustrating, it's infuriating. So what I want to talk today is about the non-scale victories, because if I were to have focused on just my weight over the last 3 years, that would have been extremely discouraging, because I have lost, in 3 years, I have lost 30 pounds. 30 pounds over the last 3 years. That's 10 pounds a year. That's infuriating if you look at the scale. Now, I did start noticing that my body fat percentage did go down a little bit quicker with a certain lifestyle change. Now, I started incorporating that lifestyle, but then I started realizing that it wasn't a healthy and achievable lifestyle. It's not something that I could maintain forever. So if it's not something that I could maintain forever, then it's not worth it to me to even do it for a temporary short amount of time, because one, I suffer with some blood sugar issues. This lifestyle change that I was going through caused my blood sugar to spike crazy and then drop crazy, and it just was not worth it. So what did I do? I focused on eating healthy, staying balanced, staying consistent with my exercises, and just being patient, because patience was the biggest thing. And you know what, I had to take my eyes off of that scale, had to take my eyes off of that body fat, and I had to look at other small victories. Small victories, but big victories. So back when I was at my most unhealthy, this was in the middle of the pandemic. We had gone through so much. Oh my gosh, so much. Everything was like crashing down this year. This was a bad year, and at the absolute height of the most unhealthiest that I've ever been, I remember a few things, and this is the main reason why I started exercising and focusing on the small things. Woke up in the morning, my back was so sore. I did a little, a stretch, and all I could think of was, oh my gosh, my range of motion. I can't get my arms fully up. I couldn't, extend them without feeling every muscle in my back just so tight and so stiff. And oh, it was awful. I remember that feeling, and I remember thinking to myself, this is what I'm going to change. This is why I'm going to switch up my exercise plan. And I'm going to feel normal again. I'm going to feel loose in my back. I'm going to feel okay when I wake up in the morning. I'm not going to feel this pain anymore. That's what I'm going to be focusing on. So, time goes by, and you're working at your fitness routine, and then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, back feels a little bit looser. This isn't an overnight thing. This is weeks and weeks and weeks. And eventually, after doing the exercises, after creating the plan and sticking to it, you start to notice the improvements. You start to notice that, wow, I've got more range of motion. I can move my shoulders more. I don't feel as tight. And eventually it turns into something that is that achievement that I once said I was going to do. Now, after I focused on that one, I focused on something else, which was my clothes. I had this vest. I really, really, really wanted to fit in this vest, and it didn't fit. It did not fit. Like, I don't even know why I wore some of the clothes that I wore back when I was a little bit bigger, because, I looked like I was popping out of them almost. Like, in all honesty, I probably should have went and bought bigger clothing, but I didn't. And that's because in my mind I was a lot smaller. And you know what? That's just the way it was. However, I wanted to fit into this vest, and I'm like, no, I don't want it to be all blech when I zip it up, So over the next couple months, I started working on that, and kept to my fitness routine, kept eating properly. I went for my runs, did everything that I could. And a couple weeks went by, and I still didn't fit into it. And I was like, oh my gosh, it wasn't even getting close. Like, it was still really tight. And I was like, wow, this is really discouraging that I'm doing this much work and nothing's happening. See, I was breastfeeding at this point, and this was also another thing that was very, very frustrating, as well as my daughter was getting up at every hour through the night, which that again will contribute. Your sleep contributes to your fitness and your body, and just you need that overall balance in order to thrive. And obviously this was a very hard time in my life. And I mentioned the blood sugar issues as well. And I'm like, you know what? It's so tempting to go on these diets or go and take these pills or go and, do endless amounts of exercise and just always be moving and in order to lose this body fat that I had been needing to lose clearly. But I knew that it wasn't healthy. I knew that it was a way of distorted eating. It was a way of over exercising to what? To look good, causing me my blood sugar issues again, causing me to pass out, causing me to almost like convulsing on the floor. No, it wasn't worth it. It's not worth any of that. I decided very early on that it doesn't matter how long it's going to take. I'm going to get to my goal. But if it takes me years, then it takes me years. I don't care. This is what I'm going to do. And you know what? Sticking to that mentality, it was hard because, especially with today's society, when you're looking on social media, you see progress pictures of like 4 weeks or, weeks. And you're like, wow, this progress that I made in 3 years is nothing compared to what you made in 3 weeks. And it's not to say that their progress is any less or my progress is any less. They're different journeys. They're completely different journeys. This person's journey is absolutely phenomenal and so inspiring. But so is mine. And I target a little bit of a different audience, and that is okay. So I've put some people saying like, oh, how could you be a personal trainer? Look at you. You have this much body fat and you like don't spend all of your time exercising. No, I don't, because I'm a mom and I'm a personal trainer that believes in realistic expectations for myself. I don't set my expectations of myself high enough that I'm going to disappoint myself, because if I set my expectations for myself higher than I'm able to achieve, then I am going to let myself down. And if I let myself down enough times, I'm going to stop. And it's not worth it for me to stop, because I'm in this for the long run. I am not working out to have a killer body. I am working out so that when I'm older, I don't need to worry about getting down and going to the bathroom. I don't need to worry about getting down on the ground to play with my kids. I don't need to worry about going for a hike with my family. All of those things I want to be able to do. So when I'm training for life. I'm not training for just to look good. It's not just about the looks. And over the last couple of years, I kept telling myself that, and in the back of my head, there's always going to be a little like, yeah, but you could do this to look a little bit better. You could do that. And as hard as that is, like, no, I have to stay true to myself. I have to stay true to what I represent in the fitness industry, what I believe, and, what I tell my clients, because in all honesty, when my clients come to me, a lot of the clients that I work with are starting from zero or not a whole lot of activity. And we slowly build up. Although the journey might be a little bit longer, it's worth it, because you start from zero, but you end up being able to do more than you ever thought you were capable of. And that feeling is just so phenomenal. So I want to talk a little bit about a couple days ago. So I stepped on the scale for the first time in months, because I hadn't seen that body fat percentage change. I hadn't seen it change in well over 6 months. And, even when it did, it would drop like 1% and go back up. 1% and go back up. There was about maybe 1 time or 2 times where I got down like a good, I'd say like 10%, which felt really good, but I don't know, I didn't really feel the difference. And it was also hard because it would just go back up again. And I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna be checking as often as I was, which wasn't that often. It was probably every 2 weeks. But anyway, so I said I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave it alone. And I think it was probably about 6 months ago that I checked my, no, actually probably 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah, 3 or 4 months ago I checked my body fat, and I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't change. Did not change. And I want you to keep in mind that my body fat percentage was considered obese. My body fat percentage was in a very unhealthy range. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say that, oh, everybody is beautiful. Everybody is beautiful, yes, but there is a risk that comes with having excess body fat. And I knew that. As a personal trainer, I know that. So I had this goal and I couldn't achieve it for 3 years. Stopped looking at the scale and just focused on exercising and continuing and being patient, like I said. I checked the scale yesterday. I am considered in a healthy percentile for my body fat percentage, for my age and my height. For anybody who has had progress on their fitness journey that they've really had to work on, you just know how rewarding this is and how good this feels. And it's a feeling that is like undescribable, because although it took me 3 years and although it was very hard and I had a lot of judgment, I did it. Not be at my destination yet. And you know what? I don't even know if there's a destination, honestly. Like, isn't the point of our life just to be continuously learning and continuously to growing? Well, our fitness journey maybe is the same way, just adapting and learning and becoming better than we used to be. So if you're struggling with focusing on detaching yourself from the scale, I highly suggest you to do a few things. So focusing on basic activities that you find maybe a little bit challenging that you would like to get easier. Maybe tying your shoe is difficult right now and you want to focus on getting better at that. Maybe your energy is a little bit off and you want more energy. So you getting more energy is your goal. Maybe your back is bothering you when you wake up in the morning and it's feeling stiff. Not an injury. If it's an injury, go to the doctor. But like just if it's feeling more stiff than it used to, maybe that's something you can work on. Taking a few more steps than you normally do. Getting up, moving more. Just, getting going and doing something different and changing so that you can see there's some sort of progress in some way. I always suggest doing a body fat scan because it's definitely very valuable and it's good to know and it's good to see the difference. And I do believe that the body fat percentage is a lot more accurate than your weight. A lot of people do take their weight quite a bit, and as great as that is to have a goal, sometimes it can be a little inaccurate if we test different times per day or if something's going on with us. So like it all really depends. Focusing on how you're feeling, because when you take away the physical and you focus on your mental, you focus on how you can move better, how you can run up the stairs without getting out of breath. You can all those things, they seem like small things, but when you achieve them, they're big things. They're really big things and they keep you going. If I had just looked at my weight for those entire 3 years, I would not have kept going, because if I'm exercising this hard and nothing's changing, like, what's the point? That's awful. I'm not going to do that to myself, because I'm going to focus on other changes, because that's how you keep going and how you evolve. And we can't get the ball rolling if we don't notice changes. So once you start noticing the changes, and even if they're small changes, they're still changes. So keep your eyes on those small changes, and eventually they'll become big changes. Eventually, they will become big changes. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my story, and I hope that it helped in some sort of way. Either way, if you could give a like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. I got my new water bottle here. See, it's huge. It's so big. I convinced my husband to get it. It's bigger than my head. I love it. It's awesome. Take it everywhere. For those of you who have an emotional support water bottle, you get it. For those who don't, you're not going to get it. You don't get it if you don't have an emotional support water bottle. But yeah, so Wally the water bottle is here. Okay, have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. I will talk to you soon.